Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Let's Talk Tendies podcast, the best podcast in my mind. Today, we have a really interesting episode. We have the one, the only, Debbie Kilfoyle, and a lot of you guys might not know who she is. A lot of you guys might know who she is. She is not only my college professor, she is also a TikToker. She's also a content creator. She's also a bunch of different things. She's worked for the Dolphins. She's worked for TSN. She's worked for NFL Canada. Hell, she was even a cheerleader. How is she my teacher? Great question. I still don't know, but I got a favor for you to do. I gotta ask this favor real quick. If you are looking at not only the subscribe button on YouTube, but also the follow button on Spotify, and they are not lit up, or it does not say following, it just says follow. Subscribe, follow. Why not hit that button? There's really no harm in doing it. And also, I mean, you get podcasts almost weekly for the time being until, things pick up and everything's going wrong. Other than that, man, thank you, Debbie, for joining me in this podcast. We are actually in the Henry Bernick Entrepreneurship Center building at Georgian College. I was lucky enough to kind of rent it out for the little bit. And we recorded it in person, my first ever in-person podcast. And I think it was a great and really splendid time, some might say. So if you are new or you're even here and you just maybe watch watch every now and then, why not follow? There's nothing wrong with doing that. And it'll show it shows me how dedicated you are, how awesome you are. Even watching this alone, it is just awesome. Awesome. Thank you again, Debbie, for joining this episode. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening. Fun little story. I'm also on Amazon Music. So if you are watching on YouTube and you don't have Spotify, but you have Amazon Music, go ahead. In a future podcast, I'll explain why I'm not on Apple Music. Oh, maybe. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, thank you. Enjoy the podcast. Also enjoy some epic little transitions that I get.
There. Okay, so do I look at it sometimes?
You can look at it if you want, if you're trying to talk to whoever. Like right now. Welcome back from the intro for the Let's Talk Tendies podcast, hosted by me. I think in the intro I even said that it's a #1 rated podcast in my mind. I'm trying to push that as much as I can. I'm here joined by Debbie Kilfoyle. I always actually always mess it up. I don't know why. If you ever watched the first episode of my podcast, you would remember that going back, I gave my flowers to a bunch of different teachers, and Debbie was actually one of them. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Debbie Kilfoyle. I'm a college professor at Georgian College here, and super excited to be joining you.
Yeah. Shout out Henry Bernick Center in their podcast room. They are actually this is not the first time I've recorded in here. It's the second time. Check out the Concession Stand podcast. That's what, I don't remember what episode, but we recorded there. I guess we can just hop right in the questions.
Sure.
Where and how did you get yourself into social media?
Social media. Well, I've been teaching at the college for about 6 years, and probably into my third year I think, so it's only been a couple years, they asked me to teach the social media course.
Right.
And I taught social media within Intro to Marketing and those types of courses where it's just like one chapter. And when you teach students that are much younger, they're on social media, so it's really hard to teach them. So it's like, you're like, here, these are the different platforms. One's called Facebook, one's called Instagram. It's like, you're not teaching them anything they don't already know.
Right.
So I thought the best way for me to really be better at teaching is to dive into it myself. So I've always been on Facebook with friends and family from 20 years ago or however long ago that was, and started a little bit on Instagram, but the students were mostly talking about TikTok. And so I'm like, how do I get myself on here and what do I do? So I just started going through it, and it started, the very first post was when I was at my girlfriend's, a friend of mine, it was her 52nd birthday party, and we always saw those TikToks. It was, I don't know if you remember, it's been a couple years. They'd switch the birth date, so she was 52, and then they'd have 2 candles, and she'd switch it so it said 25, and it was like, and it was this little trend. Anyway, so she's like, I gotta do that. So we filmed it in we had a little space, and we filmed it, and that was our first. And I remember just sitting there going, is anybody gonna like it? We're like, somebody liked it. It was the most exciting time when somebody liked it. And then we're like, she got a couple followers. I'm like, this is really cool. I want to do it. So it started off with wanting to do it to make me a better teacher so that I could dive into it and know exactly how it works, not just read it on a book, learn it, and then teach it, to be actually in it. And that was sort of our first post. And as soon as she did that, I'm like, I want followers. I want to do that. So that was kind of how I got started.
And then right now you're sitting around 20,000, was it? No.
40,000?
Yeah. Last time I checked, it was 20,000.
Oh, no, you're not checking enough.
I'm not checking enough.
I don't flash up on your feed or anything.
No, it's funny. Actually, you do a lot more. So there's a couple other people that are friends of mine that'll flash up more than often, and you're one of them that will just consistently pop up. I go, oh, Debbie. Yeah. And I'll like it and move and, watch it. Fun little story that you told us. The first way she actually introduced us is her first big job in marketing. She worked for the Miami Dolphins.
That's right.
I want to know, what was it like? I know you talked to us about it in class, but it's something that's really interesting. Well,
for me, it was a great opportunity. I went to Florida State and did my master's in sport business there. And I remember when I was always a Miami Dolphins fan. It was one of my favorite football teams and sports to be involved with. And so when I was finished my program, I reached out to the Dolphins and said, I'd really like to finish and do a couple months for an internship. And they said, well, we usually just hire from like University of Miami or somewhere nice and close, not from Florida State. So I was like, oh, how else can I do this? And one of the things that I always teach students is to persevere. Like if you want something, you just keep going until somebody says like no. Right? And you just keep going. And so they didn't really say no. They said, we usually do this. And I said, well, is there any event coming up where I can just come and meet with you? And so they were having a draft party. So it was right when the draft was happening, and they have a big draft party. And I said, well, what's that involved? Can I just come and be part of it? Somehow I'll volunteer. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And I came and just helped them with everything I got, and was at the end of that, they offered me the internship. And then from the internship, I was able to stay for 1 full year. So because I was a student in the States, even though I'm from Canada, I could stay 1 full year after graduating as long as it was within the industry, which was sports. And so I was able to stay there full time for the season. And I worked with brand partners, worked for halftime, did the halftime shows, got everybody on and off for the halftime shows, made sure all the sponsorships were serviced. So they have... you set up the sponsorship where someone will sell the sponsorship, but then I was the one that helped service it. So if they were supposed to have a banner out in the field, I was literally running out there with a banner, hanging it up on the walls. If they were supposed to get a PA announcement at a certain time, I'd work with the script to make sure that got to the booth on time for them to make sure that announcement happened and just service the accounts. And it was the most exciting job I've ever done. I mean, teaching's really great, but it was pretty great being on the field, like during all the games and running around in the back, getting people on and off the field, and part of the pregame shows, the halftime shows, the events outside of that, golf tournaments. The year I worked there was the anniversary to the 1972 undefeated seasons of the Dolphins. It was 25th anniversary, so we planned that big party for that event, and just it was great. Like my office was down the hall from Coach Jimmy Johnson at the time. That's so you'd cool. Get up in the morning and go, "Morning, Coach," and
that would be kind of cool.
That was pretty cool. And then we had our lunches would sometimes be a barbecue. And you'd go downstairs and it'd be all the players having the barbecues. So you'd have a barbecue lunch with Dan Marino there, grabbing a burger or whatever, right? So those things were really fun.
That'd be. Do you have any contact still with the Dolphins, or are they all kind of?
It's changed so much. No, they wouldn't probably be there. There might be 1 or 2 people still there, maybe, right. But not really.
I think one of the most important things for football, like a team for football, is not actually the players, because you won't be able to have a football team with all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that goes unappreciated. And it's really, really kind of cool to see kind of everyone work together to form this big thing.
Every minute counted. I remember when we would have people on, the coin toss at the beginning of the game was not at 4 o'clock. It was at 4:04, right? So everything was set up so that if the kid or whoever came in didn't toss that coin at that one time, get off the field, the players were coming charging in. So everything was scripted to the second. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of planning.
That takes a lot of commitment too.
Yeah.
With just behind the scenes time. You worked also with TSN.
Mm-hmm.
What was moving from because I know you worked in NFL Canada and you kind of worked in an office there. But what was moving from like on-field preparation to kind of just in an office like?
Um, there was a few years in between there, so I was ready to progress to that. I mean, when you're younger and running around carrying banners on your shoulders and climbing up things and putting them into the fences is different than as you get a little older, I guess. So when I was by then, I'd already worked in advertising a little bit and worked for different companies that still work with sports from the client side. Just working in the office was great. It was still like there was still always so much going on there. Like we were always on different, commercial shoots for different athletes that were representing a brand, or we were going out to business meetings. We were always working with creative agencies and always out at their their offices. So it wasn't really sitting all that much. So it was very active. It was still very active. It wasn't climbing on fences, but it was still pretty active.
And the best part, you were in a commercial.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. That was.
It's just my head going.
Yeah, I told my parents about that, and they're like, "Oh, she was in a commercial." I go, "Yeah, it was one for like a Coors Light fantasy football thing, but it was her face is in it. She's there. Therefore, she's TSN canon."
Yeah, so that was nice. With the nice thing with TSN too is they put together the commercials there. So when you're working with a brand, and at the time my client was Coors Light, so when you're working with them and your production team at TSN is putting together a commercial, there was often times, we would have some of us sitting in the boardroom, and so we would a lot of the employees would be in it. Well, you're like, oh, there's the guy that in finance, and oh, there's the guy from from whatever department, and they put us all in the commercials. It was fun.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I guess we can move away from your work history into more social media, because that's kind of what I know you for. Not even just for being on social media, but through social media class.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite trend in social media was for the, like, if you could just name one that sticks out right away?
Oh, there's so many. I think the ones I like are the ones that are organic. They just happen, and then they just become a trend. There's some that are up there that are good trends, but somebody set it up at the beginning, and then everybody follows it and does the same thing. But the one that sticks out the most, and I think I showed it in class, is when the girl falls back.
Oh, yes.
Katie something, Carell or Cottrell, or I don't know. That's the wrong last name. That's the girl from Sex and the City, Katie Cottrell. No, it's something, Katie something.
Yeah.
And apparently she was supposed to be just showing her mom or somebody, she was going to send them a text and show them what she's wearing to golf that day or something. And she did the video, and as she did it, she falls backwards and she hits the bedpost and she goes, ah!
Yeah.
And then everybody else, I just went crazy viral. Everybody did everything, like even like Michael Bublé does one, and he sings a song and then he goes, ah, just haven't met you yet, or something like that. And like the guy from Arrow, and I think that one was so fun. I don't know why. I guess it just made me laugh.
I think I did a trend on that where I went through the ABCs and I got to like and I stopped so she could do it. You could probably actually find that on my TikTok somewhere.
Oh, I'll have to look for it. I didn't do one on time. I find that you got to really jump on those trends when they're going.
It's funny. I'm like, okay, I'll go and do the trend, and I see a trend starting to form. I'm like, okay, I feel like this is gonna go somewhere. And I like save it, and I just forget about it.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's like out of sight, out of mind, and and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it now, and it's like, oh wait, it's been 2 months, and I don't see anything about it anymore.
You're like, but it would have been so good.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that one. There's that one that I like, and everybody puts their phone on the ceiling.
Yes.
They're taping the phone to the ceiling. I wanted to do that in class, but we kind of missed the trend. But you put it on the ceiling and everybody just dances around and stuff like that. I thought that one would have been fun.
I know you did one at OCMC. For those who don't know, Ontario Marketing, what was it? Ontario
Colleges Marketing Competition.
Yes.
OCMC.
I lost my train of thought. You did one where it was they're all kind of slowly dancing, and then it's the lights go out and they're with the flashlights. They're just going crazy.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. There's definitely some faces I recognize in that.
Yeah.
And then there's one, I think I was just scrolling through when I first saw your TikTok, and I saw it was the sport marketing, Why Aren't You in Uniform with Jonah?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who I did have on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I think I even brought it up to him, and he's like, yeah, we were Jersey Day, and he's like, yeah, I just thought, she's like, you want to record a TikTok? I have an idea, and she was like, okay. And it was, so you go in there, you see them, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, I threw so it was Jersey Day for sport marketing, which we'll have in our sport class, where everybody just brings a jersey in, and then that was right when that trend was, why are you not in uniform with SpongeBob?
Yeah.
Whatever. So I had them all take their shirts, not their shirts off, their jerseys off that they had over top of their shirts, and then they sat in the seats, and I just threw their jersey at them. And then we did transitions so that.
Yeah.
Well, there was two. I did two. So you didn't see that one. That's a different one.
I didn't see. I don't think I saw that one. That's a different one.
So there's the one where they walk in the door, was one of them, and then the other one I threw shirts at them, and then they had the shirt on.
No.
And they were all sitting in a row, and I just threw each of their jerseys at them and tried to do those transitions.
I think we need to do something like that in our sport market. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Except our class is kind of hidden off in the depths of the school somewhere, like. They got the saw. I call it the saw hallway because the first time I've ever seen that class, it was just a dark hallway with a door at the end, and I didn't realize there was a light in there. And I'm like, nope. What do you think your most used social media is?
Me personally, I use TikTok mostly. Yeah. I don't use Facebook as much. I still keep that one private, sort of family and friends, and then Instagram is kind of in between, like family and friends and then followers, because there's still followers that I don't know that follow me that aren't close friends. But TikTok's just where I have most fun with it. I feel I can just be more creative. Right. Where Instagram seems a little more, you can be creative, but it's a little slightly more formal-ish.
Yeah. So that's the struggle with Instagram. You go and post maybe like a cap cut or like just a trend, but the trend doesn't form on Instagram as it would TikTok. Yeah. Even with like YouTube Shorts, I found you can post a cap cut, but it's a 50-50 if it hits or not. Yeah. I find with TikTok, you can be consistent, then you have your one or two that take off. But I feel like you can read it more. Like you have a better idea of what the algorithm's going to do. I find with YouTube Shorts, I've done a few of those, pulled them over, but like you said, you never know. Like it could. Sometimes it says 0 views. You're like 0. Yeah. And then the next one says like 5,000 or whatever. It's like what did I do here? I went from posting shorts like CapCut templates every day because I would have like 16, 17 ready to go, and then I would run out and I'm like, oh, okay, now I gotta find more and make more, and then I was kind of stretching or doing the same thing. So I ended up doing every other day, and I still do it now if I remember. And it's like one video will get 50 views, and then I'll wait a day, and then the next one will get like 5K views, and then it'll go 100 views, 2 point. It's not easy to figure that one out as well. Yeah. And then I used to also make hockey jerseys. Yep. And I would post them. There's one for like the Seattle Kraken that has like 21K views, and the rest are lucky to get 1,000. Yeah. It's really weird how it just adds up. Just trying to figure that one out too. And I think the other part is the trending sounds. You can't find them as well on YouTube Shorts, and so I actually got like put in jail or whatever they call it once because I put a video, and I try to always try and credit it. I always want to make sure that I'm crediting the sound. So I looked up the sound that was on TikTok, what the sound was called, who the artist was, who posted it, moved it all over there. But I had missed the sped up version was somebody else's sped up version. So don't make that mistake. And so I got pulled down. It was like a 1X against you, and I'm like, I don't want one against me. You get 3 of them. Yeah. And then it drops off after a few months or after so many days anyway. And then I emailed the guy that had put the ban on there and said, why is this on there? And then he tried to get me to pay the royalties for the thing, and I just said, you know what, I'll just take it off. I don't need it on there. No. It wasn't like. I've been lucky enough where I've kind of dodged it so far. I say so, knock on wood. Where I can get away with it, and I kind of just put a different song on there. Yeah. And I kind of just mute the audio. Right. Or they're like, oh, okay. TikTok goes, you might have copyright. You it's banned in Russia. Yeah, and like, that's okay. Some people may not see this. And I think we should almost wrap it up. I got one more question for social media. Sure. And then kind of a mix between education and social media. So what are 3 tips you could give to somebody for content creation? On social media? On social media. I think the biggest thing is consistency, like keep going. Like
if you just stop, like obviously it's not going to go. If you can't, it's almost like I always talk about like with hockey when you're shooting the puck.
Yeah.
All the ones that you don't take are going to be misses, right? That
Right.
type of a thing. And so if you don't post and you don't keep doing it, then you're never going to get to that next stage. So I think just you have to keep plugging away and just consistently posting. And I know it's not always, it used to be 2 to 3 a day and all that, but I don't feel that it's that anymore. I think it's just trying to get something out each day and staying consistent with it. I know people say to really try to get a certain niche. I've never had a niche. I've just done things that I like to do, and I guess my personality is my niche. Like
Right.
I stick to certain goofy trends or funny ones or silly ones, and that's what makes mine similar. But I think you try to not go too far off. I find that if I do something, suddenly I'll post something about my dog because he's so cute, and I think he's adorable, and it just flops because it's very off from what I do.
Right.
Anybody who else posts a video of their same breed, their same dog doing the same cute thing, it goes crazy because that's what people are used to seeing that. So I think you just have to try to stick within a somewhat of a niche, even if you don't have one, but stay within a certain theme or idea so that people will keep coming back. But I think the biggest tip would then to be consistency. I think the other one is that the trends just always work for me. I find if I don't use a trending sound, it just doesn't do as well. You could put almost anything on a trending sound and
Right.
just the algorithm picks that up and it does well. Although you have to make sure that people are liking it. It can't just be any content and then use a trending sound. And then the third one is just really trying to grab their attention within the first few seconds. I think we all hear that.
Yeah.
If you don't, like we're all just flipping and just see what it is and look at your own and what is it that made you stop. And say, I stopped for this because they said this or there was this. I know that was 3, but the other one is just really good quality. I think if the footage isn't good, clear quality, I find I always stop at ones that are really good camera quality.
Right. And for those who are worried about your camera quality, your phone has a good camera.
It does, and that's all I use. That's what I mean.
There's actually some that have like really bad camera quality that I stop at, and I know it's just a joke because they'll have the really distorted audio, and it's like the early like flip phone camera quality, and I'll stop and I'll just sit there. I'll be like, oh, what is it? Can I try to understand this? It's some third language that I don't know, and how did you get into becoming I guess now you're a coordinator, but how did you become a professor?
My first degree was in kinesiology, and that was several years ago. When I finished the program, I wanted to stay in sort of fitness and the fitness stream, and so I ended up teaching some courses right out of university, teaching at York University, which is where I went to school, and I stayed and taught some practicum courses, so fitness practicum. So I had that experience from many years ago. Then after I finished that and I went back to school and did my sport business, I worked in the industry for another 6-7 years, and then when I left that industry, the next step, I just thought, what do I want to do now? It was going to be tough, someone that was a little bit older, sort of keep going downtown Toronto and still working hard every night, staying up really late. I had 3 young kids at home, and the lifestyle of that wasn't really suited for me. And so I thought I'll go back and look into teaching. I'd also done some teaching when I went to Florida State as part of my education. In exchange for my education,
Right.
I taught. So that was one way to go down to Florida and to the U.S. and get an education down there without paying for it. In exchange, I taught. So I did have that experience, and then so my next step was to get into teaching. But a couple of things that I was lacking was really knowing the digital world, which is funny that I'm in social media and digital marketing now. But I came back to Georgian College in 2010 to upgrade my skills. And then when I came here, I met all the teachers, and they're like, oh, you should get into teaching. And Jeff, which most people had for pitching the campaign, I don't know if I can say any names, but love you, Jeff. He was one of my teachers, and he's like, you should get into teaching. And so because I had the sport background, I talked to the school about doing a sport marketing course.
Right.
And so that was the first course I taught. So I started and developed and created the sport marketing course and taught that one. And so that was my one course part-time. That was all I did. And then after that, there was a couple more courses that opened up for teaching, intro to marketing, and just kept building one course at a time till the point where I was teaching 3 courses, and then a coordinator role came up and jumped onto that, and then started full-time last year.
Yeah.
So kind of just started from one course because of the sport marketing background, went into marketing in general, and then it spread out from there. Now I'm pitching the campaign or presentation skills, social media, which is why I got into social media, and here I am now.
Do you think if you took a different university program, like not kinesiology, maybe a business, or do you think you would have ended up still teaching, or do you think it would have been directed a different way?
I personally probably would have still got into teaching. I grew up coaching kids, always loved to coach and teach. When I first went to university, I wanted to be a teacher. And then when I worked in the classroom with younger kids, I realized that wasn't for me. So I'm like, maybe I won't teach. So then I ended up going to fitness, and then the marketing, and then the business side, and then ended up back teaching children.
Look,
students.
We're children.
that want to be here.
Yes.
Or they're here when you're teaching students that didn't want to be there, then, where now it's different because every student here is here for a reason, and they're here to learn, and so they're more receptive to taking in the information.
Right.
So it just wasn't for me, the younger kids. But
do you think that there will be a different, as I know you have the content creation course coming up that you're developing, which I wish was still in our
I missed it by one semester.
I know, I'm so upset. I wish it would have been that way. Do you think there's a actual way to teach content creation, or is it we'll show you how to do it, we'll give you the resources, but a lot of it comes with luck?
To be successful in that industry, for me, like as far as teaching it, I'm going to teach it as hands-on. Like I'm going to have everybody building content as we go along and learn it that way. So I want to start it off, and I'm just developing it now, but I want to start it off where we're opening up an account. We're building some content on social media. We're seeing what works and what doesn't work. Make the changes, look at the analytics, evaluate, make changes, try trends, and just try things. And it's a nice way to give us that semester to see what works, and then we can learn from each other. So I'm going to start up a new account as well, and so I'll have all the students start an account, we'll start an account, and everybody can learn from everybody. Did the time of day matter? Did the quality of your camera matter? Did you pick a trending sound? What made yours work? How did yours do? And really make it hands-on and learn from it that way. But as far as, you never know who's going to go viral. You never know who's going to hit it. So I there's no way of knowing whether one person in the class will end up successful in it or they all will. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen and what's going to hit. That it's too unknown.
Right.
Like, you see people that just suddenly become known. I mean, you see like Tube Girl, right?
Yep.
Like, she's just doing this in the back of a streetcar with her camera at all different angles.
Right.
And now she's doing the runway as a high fashion model. Like, it's just crazy where people go. There's, you see, there was a time where a guy named William White, and he was just a guy from Canada that like was a hockey player or like, I don't know, working an odd job. And then he just became so famous on TikTok just by posting songs from the 80s that women or, other people would like draw to. And he started modeling for like some top people in New York. Like, it's just crazy. You see the Alex Earls and people like that just start off doing get ready with me videos and end up just walking the red carpets. It's crazy. One
that sticks out to me that really somehow took off, I forget his name, but he goes around to like public faucets, and he'll go and he has this like the key for it, and he'll turn it on and see if it like the water shoots out. Then he'll just like start dancing if it works, or he'll like happy dance if it works, sad dance if it doesn't. I don't remember his name.
No, I don't know.
But you probably just look up water faucet guy. But it's always one where I'm like, oh, does it work? Does it work? And then you look at his views, and you look at his views and it's like, oh, wow, I wish I had a water key so I can go around and just turn on faucets and go, oh yeah, no, it works, yeah.
But it won't work for you. Like, it won't work for the next person. You don't know. Some people will make content just watching other content in the duets.
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy, I can't remember his name, but I think he's one of the top, like, the highest.
Is he the one with that, like, Joe Bartolozzi with the hat?
Oh, I'm not sure of his name, but he just sits there and watches other content, but he doesn't even speak. He just stares at it. He just looks at it and makes weird faces, and he's blown up. I'll have to find it for you.
Oh,
it's so hard to sit here and not open your phone and go,
yeah,
this
I know.
guy.
This guy.
I'm like, my phone's right there. It's just like, I'm going to show you. But yeah, there's some that I just don't. We can show how to build the content. And it'll work it works well for businesses because you want to make sure that you're following, make sure there's a hook, make sure there's a call to action. There's steps to take that are definitely going to help you get your views and get your feedback, comment, be in part of the community, always answer back. So when somebody comments on your post, comment back because now there's 2 comments on there.
Right.
And then somebody else comments, always be talking back and build that community, and that'll help a lot because then people start to feel like they're being listened to. One of the strategies is to do controversial posts, but I don't like to do that because I stay away from those.
No, those always those are really hit or miss.
Yeah.
You either get a lot of love or a lot of hate for that one.
Yeah.
And it's never smart.
Yeah.
What do you think the easiest way to make content would be? Just off by what, like, for TikTok, what is the easiest thing you can just start out with and do?
The easiest, quickest is to just use content you already have on your phone. You don't even have to film anything. Like, some of it can just be finding a trending sound, take something that you already have, put it to that trending sound, make some edits. Sometimes some of the CapCut templates are working really well right now too, because they're now part of TikTok. So they're showing those more. But that would be the quickest, easiest, fastest. Sitting down and setting up the lighting and the cameras and the speakers and things is obviously going to take a lot more time. But for me, some of the quickest and easiest is when I go on vacation, I just tape everything.
Right.
Right? And then you put it back and you can put it to some different sounds or some different music. You can only do that for so long because then people want to see you as a person. So you do have to do some where you're talking and it's your voice and they can hear you and you can comment. Some of the ones that I've done that have done well is when I've just asked people. So I feel like people want to comment,
right,
but they don't know what to say. So they're like, oh, that's so cute, or oh,
right,
I like that. And they're commenting, but it's not really saying anything. So if you ask them to say something, so I'll be like, okay, I'm going to say something about myself, and then you're going to tell me the same about you. And I'll be like, my favorite color is red. And then somebody else will reply with, my favorite color is blue. And then you get a conversation going, and they're like, oh. So sometimes I find that people want to respond and comment, but they haven't been told what to say, or other than a happy face or a laughing face or a smiley face, right? So I find if you can pull out something from them, like you see some, and we'll have different feeds. Like you'll get a very different feed. Like I get other ladies that are my age and some of the things they do, and some of them are just, who sang this song? And they'll play the song, and they get thousands of people responding because they're like, oh, that's the Eagles. I know the Eagles, because you feel like you know the answer. So you make it a question that's easy to answer. And then even if you see the Eagles in there 10 times, you still have all those comments. So I think ask questions, try and pull out a comment from somebody.
All right. I think that's good. I think we've hit, I don't know how long. I shut the laptop or lowered it so I can't see how long we're going. Anytime's a good amount of time. Yep. That's what I've learned. You can shoot for an hour, but sometimes if you go too long or try to push it, it doesn't work too well. But I want to say thank you so much. Is there anything you want to shout out before we?
No, not that I can think of.
No. I will put I'll put pretty much her TikTok link. I don't know if you want your Instagram in there too.
That's fine. Yep,
Instagram and TikTok link in the description of both this and the Spotify and Amazon. Oh yeah, I'm on Amazon now. I totally forgot. You can find this podcast if you're listening to it on any of the 3 platforms. You can find it in the description for the, I think it's called a card. Something I found on Twitter, and I'm like, oh sure, I'll just keep using it. So you can go look in there, and you'll see where you can find this podcast. And I guess thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you tomorrow now.
see you on Monday morning. And I guess we'll head out to the outro. So, other me, take it away. Oh my, welcome back from the epic, awesome interview. Yes, it was a little shorter than what I normally do, but hey, the one thing with podcasting I learned, doesn't matter how long as it's good and the information in there is awesome, that's all that matters. So, Debbie, thank you so much again for your time. I know you're very busy. Thank you for your time listening. I know you are also very busy, and having me in your ear while you talk may just be awesome. It's just awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching, so much for listening. Follow, subscribe, check out my links in the description, as well as check out Debbie's links in the description. Her link is Debbie Kilfoyle, wherever. It'll be in the description. I don't remember them off by heart, and I probably should. I'm a very bad podcast host, but to each their own. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, follow, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.